So this is the exercise 2 with the sample codes. First one is create a Java program that will ask for an integer from the user. You know what? Let's make that larger, like, yeah. Or let's put that inside Microsoft Word or something, which is easier to see. Alrighty. Right. Slightly smaller. Create Java program that will ask for an integer from the user and displays that integer. So this is really simple, right? Is an exercise on getting input from the user and then being able to do something with the input. In this particular case, that something is quite simply just get it out again, meaning get the input and then get it out again. So let's look at it one by one. So first and foremost, you have to have this header file, right? You have to include this import Java utility scanner. Right? This has to be imported first, right? Then you'll be able to declare a variable type scanner. In this particular case, we call it input, right? New scanner system.in, right? So from then on, we can get input as next integer. What happens is that you can also have, for example, you can do something like this if you want. Right? You can also do something like this if you want. Let's say you want a float, so you can declare it as a float like that, right? Maybe num2 or something. And then input next float, in which case you will be getting a float instead of an integer, right? Of course, in terms of the prompt to the user, you might want to say something else, maybe enter a number or something. Enter a number, right? So this is your number, right? And num2. Right, so this is a really simple program of just getting the input from the user and then outputting it for the user to see. So this is just the real exercise is just on getting an input, which we haven't done before, and then maybe utilizing the input for something. Right, so we'll have a look at the next one, namely question number 4, if I'm not mistaken. So question number 4, there is a little bit of selection of program flow, right? Here. So we'll just get the respective programming codes here, Control C, and then I'll just go to Microsoft Word, right? Maybe edit a few lines here and there, right? Right. So on top here is just the user prompts. So we will basically we are prompting the user to choose either 1, 2, 3, or 4. Right? Choose operation 1 is add, 2 is subtract. Here we are restricting ourselves to the use of integer only. 3 is multiply and 4 is for division, right? Multiplication, division, subtract, and addition, right? So this is the prompt that we are giving out to the user. Then the user will make a choice here, right? Integer choice, input text. And we will take that choice and then decide what to do with that choice. as you can see here. Right. Okay, so here is what I said, the program flow. In actuality, what happens is that when we go with a simple program, with a basic program like the one that was shown to you earlier, what happens here is that we'll have the program run linearly, meaning it will just go line by line until the end of the line, until the end of the program, meaning the closing curly bracket. Whereas here, there is a flow to the program, meaning to say that the program might flow different ways depending on the choice made by the user. In this particular case, we say 1 for add, 2 for subtract, 3 for multiplication, and then 4 for division, right? And then the user will then make a choice here, and we will take that choice. Next integer will be inputted into the integer box choice, and based on that, different things may happen. For example, if the user chooses 1, then this will happen. That is to say that we will output number 1 plus number 2 is equal to the result of the 2, right? If the user on the other hand chooses 2, then something else will happen, because 2 is subtract, so number 1 would be minus number 2, meaning we take out number 2 from number 1, right? Else, if the choice is 3, the user chooses 3, then something else will happen, that is multiplication, right? If the chooser on the other hand chooses 4, in this particular case, what happens is that I made use of another variable called result, and result is a float, because I believe when you supply two numbers and you want to divide, chances are you will get some kind of a decimal number, right? So I declare result as a float, and I take the value of number 1 divided by number 2 and take the float value of that, meaning to say that it's a decimal point, number with decimal point, and then I output the result instead of the previous ones. All are number 1 plus number 2 or minus number 2 or asterisk number 2. Only the fourth one, choice is number 4, is a result. Okay, last but not least is we have this line. It says else system out print invalid input. So this is otherwise called exception handling. Exception handling. And exception handling is where we take into consideration what if the user does something else, does something out of our initial expectation. We expect the user to only supply 1, 2, 3, or 4, but in this case maybe the user felt adventurous or something and gave something else. So we have to account for that as well, and this is, you can say, good practice in programming, to have an exception handling, to have to take into consideration all different possibilities, even if it doesn't make sense, because the users are human and sometimes human don't make sense, right? So that is the program flow with regards to the if-else statement. I have